Uh, so you have some instruments. We're a flute store, flute specialists, and we'd love to hear about your flutes.
Sir James, talk about your flutes.
Well, two of the flutes that I brought today are rather special because they're only one off. And one is a golden broger, the real thing made by Mr. Broger himself.
I'll get it.
And the other one is an alto flute made by Muramatsu.
And your Cooper is here.
And of course, my Coopers are there too.
The Broger flute is amazing. It's very interesting too. It's funny. People say to us all the time that they get their flutes repaired all the time and they never work. And flutes, they don't, after a couple of years, they're no good. They wear out. They're not like violins. Well, we feel differently because our instruments have been in the safe and some of them not played in concert for many times. And all of these have been picked up today and they all play. So I think, and you would know this too, if you take care of your instrument, then it will have a little more longevity. Of course, these are very well-made flutes. So this is the Broger, Jimmy. Do you want to, if we can show this, this is an amazing flute, and it's the real Broger.
There's the famous Broger thumb key.
Beautiful.
And it has special, the keys themselves are rather special.
Yeah.
I need my telephone, please.
Oh, excuse me. We have to fix the volume here for him. And this flute would have been made. What's very interesting, and Heidi, that's why I had, when we were corresponding, I wanted to bring to the attention of the students that, all these flutes, Sir James used to spend a lot of time with flute makers over the years discussing flutes, and Powell and Muramatsu and a lot of these companies have actually said that it's because of Sir James that there have been such improvements on the flutes, because when we would go on tour, we'd spend time and he'd say, I think this would work better, or you do that. He wouldn't say, oh, you have to change the scale to make it more in tune. Maybe it needs to be a little fixed. And what do you think playing that flute after so many years? How does it feel?
Amazing. It really is amazing. I think Brewer was a very special flute maker.
And for those students who maybe are not familiar with Broger, they probably know it from the Miyazawa name, but he lived in Denmark, and we used to meet him at concerts when we were on tour there. How about the Cooper next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We do enjoy Cooper flutes as well. And at Flute Specialists, we say, play them and we will fix them. I agree. You can keep playing the flutes as much as you'd like, and they can be repaired by a good shop.
Yes. And this is really important too, which we should talk about after he's doing the demonstrations, about that it's very important to bring them to a place like your place and places that are very reputable. And can you explain a little bit about having this flute made, and that this was what you used when you first started your solo career?
Yes.
Can you explain about that time and talking with Mr. Cooper and designing this flute?
Well, the first thing I have to tell you is that every time I played in London, Mr. Cooper came to the concert. And then after that, we would discuss should we change the scale? And I never influenced him to do it. This is a Cooper scale on this flute,
Mhm.
and I think it plays very well and gives you a lot of possibilities. You know, the scale on a flute, you can have any scale you like, but it needs to be pliable. You need to be able to sort of get middle C down without too much trouble,
Mhm.
things like that. And I think Cooper did a very good job on making all these notes accessible to the player.
There's a nice documentary, and I don't know if we can ever get a hold of it, that the BBC did on Sir James being at Cooper's place and how he used to make these flutes. Can you explain about because this is really interesting. And for you students, you should really read up on Mr. Albert Cooper, because he was very innovative in the flute that you have today, no matter which flute it is in your hands.
Right.
But talk about how he used to make it with the hot stone.
Oh yeah, he made everything by hand. I mean, when you sell a flute and you tell a person this flute is handmade, well, it isn't handmade because the keys are made somewhere else, like China.
Well, not all flutes. I mean,
Not all.
Muramatsu makes some
Okay.
right there.
No,
We know that as
Yeah.
a fact.
But they're not made by hand.
No.
They're made by machines, and I suppose the machines are hand operated.
Well, they're digital, I think, too.
But anyway, let me get back to this thing. Albert made the keys himself, and he made them by melting the gold and putting it. He had a potato which he cut in two, and he forced the gold into the what do you call it?
It was a tube, wasn't it?
Yes,
It was some can or something.
it was a can.
It was very rustic.
Inside was the
The form? I don't know. I wasn't there.
The mold.
The mold.
And in order to get the gold to go into the mold, he put a half a potato on top of it, and it cooked the potato. And with the steam that came off the potato, it forced the gold into the
Mold.
And there you had it. And then after that, he had the potato.
Instead of French fried potatoes, it's flute fried.
Yeah.
And back in the 70s, which I know that many people maybe were not born yet, there wasn't such a variety of gold flutes at that time. I remember as a student in the 70s, I was a student at Julius Baker's class, and James Galway was making his debut in New York with the Mostly Mozart Orchestra, and he came as a guest to this class, and he opened his bag and he had this flute and some other gold flutes and started passing them around, and none of us had seen gold flutes. So it wasn't like today, things change. And so this is so special, the way each key is made. And we are making a documentary on these instruments and photographing them. The reason why there hasn't been a big documentary or a book about all my husband's instruments and my instruments is because of security reasons for us. Because we like to stay private. I know a lot of people will take pictures of them, but we will, because we feel that it's owed to the flute players. Now here, for instance, are all these, well, they're not four-leaf clovers, they're shamrocks and it has his name, James Galway, on there, which is his signature. And at that time, they didn't do things like that, although Rudolf Hart, he did a lot, right?
And this is a real diamond. And when I told Albert I wanted to put a diamond, he said, "A diamond? I can put a piece of glass in it. It'll look just like a diamond." Albert, we're going to put a real diamond in there.
And also the A flat key is longer. Also, this is very very special. And the other thing is that many flutes, and I know American players might not think that this way when you're young, because I didn't know about this, but they're pitched, and you know this, Heather, that they're pitched at different pitches. So this particular flute is A442, but your other gold Cooper flute is A445.
Right.
which he used in the Berlin Philharmonic because it was higher. And we'll have to show you that on the next episode. But this is a very special flute. And the reason why he stopped using this flute on tour was because of all the wear and tear, and that you needed two instruments that were exactly the same, which was when you came into the relationship with Muramatsu.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the reason why he, and you also had trouble, I think, getting the pads because they were different.
Yeah, because Mr. Cooper made different size holes. As you go down the flute, they became a tiny bit bigger.
So you can imagine touring and playing. At that time, we would play, 27 concerts she would do in 1 month. And we're not kidding. Iowa would have been on it too. And so would have Chicago, New York, and everywhere. It would have been more than a month because my husband never arrives on the day unless it's a drivable concert, like an hour or so. But so the flutes did get a lot of wear and tear. So that was when you decided that you needed two that played the same and that you could get repaired anywhere. And so then we come to a very special instrument.
Oh, good. There's more.
Oh, we've got lots. I know I told you I wasn't going to get so many, but we decided, or should we show the other one with the diamonds first? Well, this is special. You show that one.
This is an alto flute. 14 carat.
This is the Muramatsu, is that correct?
Yeah.
And it's 14 karat keys, aren't they?
I'm not sure.
But they are gold. They are gold. Yeah. So it's solid gold. And what's fascinating, this is a wonderful flute. It has all the engraving with JG here. Wait, let's see if you can see. You can't really see it. It's upside down anyway. Well, we have diamonds, and we have on the cap, which we have also on our other Muramatsu flutes, is let's see if you can see it here. There we go. It's actually a figure of my husband standing.
Can you go a little bit more to your right?
To my right, yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful.
And so here, then you can also see the initials here. And I know, like now, everyone does this, but at the time it was very special. But what's really special about this flute, besides all the engraving on the keys themselves, you see all the engraving, is JAMESGALWAY. The letters of my husband's name are on this flute.
Wow. What an honor.
So this was really special. And here's a great thing to see too, Heather. You'll appreciate this. The back, the thumb key.
Ah.
But let's explain why you got this very expensive flute, Sir James.
Oh. I commissioned a flute concerto for a friend of mine, Sam Coles.
No, but it was originally for you. Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't originally for me. I didn't have time to play it, but I commissioned it. And Sam played it, but he didn't actually play it because his orchestra that he was going to play it with went bankrupt.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And then I ended up doing it with Leonard Slatkin and the Philharmonia Orchestra. Mm-hmm. But it was written by Dave Heath, and Dave was very enthusiastic all the time. He said, Jimmy, this is a great thing. I'm going to put a big flute solo at the beginning, alto flute at the beginning of a piece. And I imagine something like The Rite of Spring,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, but it wasn't like that. It was... That's why I bought this flute.
Oh, I don't know if you've seen, but Chris Potter is joining us here and watching. I think you know Chris Potter.
Oh, Chris knows this flute very well. Hi, Chris. She knows this flute.
Speaking of low flute,
love that thumb key on the alto. Well, Chris, you played that flute, I believe. Is gold flute softer, hence plays differently? is a gold flute softer? Softer in metal or?
There's a delay, so they'll have a hard time
It's
answering you. You'll have to pick and decide.
okay. So here we have another flute, which is also very special. It's a Muramatsu flute. It's one of the first Muramatsus that my husband got. Actually, it was a replacement from the ones that were stolen. One time we had 5 flutes stolen.
Oh no.
Yeah. And Muramatsu flew immediately from Japan to Switzerland and brought us 3 flutes.
Mm.
Yeah, it was, and this is one of them. So I don't know if you can see what's special about this flute. Can you see what's special about this flute?
I see a ring
A
under.
ring of diamonds. Yes, everyone should have a ring of diamonds on their flute. There is a double ring of diamonds here and another, a big diamond in the crown, actually. And down here,
Another one.
Wow.
another one. Do you want to tell the story, Sir James?
Yeah. I was playing in Australia, and in Western Australia, there's an outfit called the Argyle Diamond Company, and they wanted to give me some diamond studs for my shirt, but I don't wear those sort of shirts. So they came up with the idea, put them on the flute. Well, I was a bit afraid of, giving your flute to a diamond company, but it worked out very well because they had a guy from London living there who was a flute maker,
Mm.
and he put the 2 rings on the headpiece and the foot joint, and also I believe there's a head, yeah, there's a ring of diamonds here.
Oh, around the D sharp.
D sharp, yeah, but they're from Muramatsu.
Ah.
And there's engraving on the keys. If you can see those.
Oh, a little bit more to your right still. It cuts off a little bit of, yeah, there you are.
And the head and the lip plate. Again, beautiful engraving on the lip.
Beautiful.
Just a second. You can't really see them, so see it.
Thank you, Sir James.
You
Yeah.
can't really see this side with his initials on it. So,
Ah.
and this flute, what's so special about it is, so this flute was just brought to him after when the flutes were stolen. It was pretty upsetting. And so what we like to tell students is that people always say, oh, well, your flutes are so special because they're made for you. But they're not all made for him. He just goes in sometimes, like the 9-carat flute. You went into Muramatsu and you just said, oh, I like this flute, I'm going to buy it. Right?
Yes.
They weren't just specially made. The first flute from Muramatsu that we got, the 14-carat, that was just before we got married, remember? Went to Japan.
Yeah.
And he brought us a flute.
Mm.
And at our wedding, Mr. Muramatsu came and he handed us the 9-carat flute, 33333, remember?
Yeah.
So if anybody ever sees a 9-carat flute, 33333, it's ours. The 5 flutes have never turned up, and they were all very beautiful, but it's an instrument, and at least we were okay. So,
Wow.
but anyway, so that's become one of your favorite flutes. You
Yeah,
recorded everything on that.
On that flute, I recorded some of my favorite records, like C.P.E. Bach concertos, Quantz concertos,
Mhm.
and I made 2 Australian records with Australian composers.
And you would have done most of your tours on that because you
Everything on that flute. I played that flute for maybe 25 years, something, I don't know, a long time.
long time, yeah.
I wondered if the diamonds, did they add a weight in your hands?
Of course.
No, wait. She's talking about weight. No.
I'm waiting.
No. It's weight.
No.
No,
You
they
don't
don't.
feel it.
So And I know a lot of people actually have written and said that, for instance, they've been gifted a ring from maybe a grandmother or something. They're thinking of putting it in their flute, and it is a nice idea. But some people just put a piece of glass in too. It depends on what you like. But we take very good care of these instruments, and we bring them to reputable shops like yours to get them fixed, and we always keep them in our hands. Right? This is very important. We never keep our flutes in sight. And I think this is very important for anyone, and especially if you're going to be traveling. You know, it's very nice to have a fancy flute bag over your shoulder. And I think when you're in high school and when you're in junior high, and then it's good. But if you're going to start going to university and start being around in big places, it's not bad to have your flute inside a bag, because it's very easy also to lose it when you've got books and you've got everything else. And so we always keep them in nondescript bags, and that's another thing too. We've had a few students who have gotten their bags stolen, 2 of them, that were in Louis Vuitton bags. So we don't use those things. We just keep them in nondescript bags, and always in a roller bag. And we always use them. We won't give them up on airplanes either. We always carry a bag inside there. If they say this roller bag won't go on the plane, we take the flutes out. We carry them on a bag on our shoulder and go in, and also in hotels, we don't let them take them. So it's just, you're investing an awful lot, and so you want to take care of it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if you've said how many flutes, maybe you're not sure. How many flutes do you have?
we're not sure.
You're not sure. That's okay.
We're not sure. A lot, right?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. I mean, the reason why is you've been interested in how the flutes work also, right? It's not just amassing a large collection.
No, each flute is different, either the scale or the keys. Or the last flute that Muramatsu made for me, they changed the thumb key.
How so?
Well,
Like the
I like the Broger style thumb.
well, like this, like your Nagahara. This is a platinum, a light platinum. We have platinum Muramatsus also. But this one, there it is.
Okay. Interesting.
And the reason being, Sir James,
I don't know. Really.
you always say it's because of the balance of the flute.
Well, it is nicer to. I play a lot of B flats with my thumb.
I do as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you'd be a fool not to off it. Anyway, so I got Muramatsu to change the thumb key
On your 24 karat flute, and that was a very interesting thing to do, because a flute maker has their own way. It took many years, and one day they changed the 24 karat flute. And this is. So this is a platinum Nagahara flute with gold keys, but it's a light platinum. And I think it took 5 years in discussion, Mr. Nagahara said, because he didn't want to make a Nagahara, he didn't want to make a platinum flute, because he said that, you make the platinum, and after a few years, people stop playing the platinum and they go back to the gold, or they go to silver. But what he did is he made it thin, and he shaved it. So we talked to him, and he'll always go like this. He took a long time making this flute, and it's an absolute beautiful instrument. You just love it. And you could hear the response on it right away. You could see how comfortable he is on it. Plays it all the time. And it's very special. You just got it fixed also, which is nice. We finally got them done, because the pandemic, we were unable to get our flutes redone. And so that's one of your favorites. Then we have over here just 2 other gold flutes. We have a Muramatsu 18 karat, that's mine, and then also with the diamonds and with the engraving. And then we have also my Nagahara, which I like 18 karat. There's just something about it I like. But then there's lots of stories, and I think Heather, we'd have to probably have another whole conversation about it. But way back, for instance, there are two Powell flutes I opened up. We keep our flutes in a safe, as I explained to you. We keep them off the premises, and they're in the safe deposit box in a typical Swiss bank. You could never get in there. And and so we went over today, and I pulled out this box, and it was two Powell flutes. And this is a very important story, so I'm just going to let him finish that, and then maybe we can go to some questions.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, the Powell flutes.
What about it?
About getting them made with the gold and Mathers with the gold with Fenwick.
Oh, right.
This is very interesting.
So one day I was hanging around in my house in Berlin, and a new student arrived called Fenwick Smith. And Fenwick got his flute out and handed it to me and said, "This is the best flute in the world." I said, "You must be joking. You haven't tried the best flute yet." So he asked me if I wanted to try it. I just blew a few notes on it. Then I gave him my Cooper, and he tried that. And I said, "Fenwick, take it away for a week. I'll play your flute in the orchestra." So I did. And he came back and he said, "Jimmy, this is the best flute I've ever tried in my life." So that got back to Powell, and they started making probably a Powell Cooper, but they never told anybody they were doing it. And Mr. Cooper, he didn't insist that people did. He was happy if somebody took his idea and made something of it. So then life went on, and I said to Fenwick one day, "Hey, you know what? I could get enough gold to make 3 gold flutes, and if you're interested, I'll buy the gold. You build the flutes. You keep one flute, and I keep the other 2." So that was a deal.
Yes.
So we've got them, except they don't have head joints. Whatever happened to the head joints? There's a
They
Cooper
never
head
have.
joint on one of
No,
them.
wait. They didn't have head joints.
Oh, they didn't have head joints.
No, we just made the bodies.
We have a lot of head joints too. Yeah, so these Coopers would have been made back in the 60s, right? You were in Berlin Philharmonic.
No.
70s?
When was I in Berlin?
Well, you 77 was when you made your debut, when Annie's song came out, and you were retired from the Berlin Phil for a few years. Well, early 70s then. Or late 60s. Fenwick Smith, by the way, for some of you who don't know, was the second flutist of the Boston Symphony. Wonderful, wonderful flutist, very good friend, Mr. Gentle, and beautiful player, student of Sir James. As many of his students today are in orchestras or just loving music. So there was that question, Heather, that I saw. It was about, the woman asked also about, is the metal softer with gold? That's a big question, and you would know how to answer that. But as you know, they're made with alloys.
Right, and the metal itself is then more permeable and softer, as I understand it. But it's the softer sound and the more mellow sound that I believe more players are searching. But I think the man with the golden flute is the one to answer that.
So, but I don't know. Do you know about the percentage of alloys? And no, he's not into all that, I think.
But I can tell you one thing. We got our gold tube in England, and it was made by Johnson and Matthey, who are big gold purveyors, and they make anything you want. And I got the notion I'd like to try something else on a new idea on a flute. So I thought I'll call up Johnson and Matthey.
Yeah.
So I went around there and I showed them the flute that they'd given me from material, and they said, "Well, listen, how much gold do you want to buy for tubes. I said, oh, just three times four, 3 times a foot and a half, something like that.
Hmm.
And he said, is that all? He said, listen, we don't make anything unless it's like a ton.
Oh.
So Mr. Cooper got in at the right time.
Hmm.
Because the guy who was selling it to Cooper, I think he might have been a flute player.
Hmm.
And you do notice a difference with the different types of gold, don't you?
Oh, sure.
And this is interesting also. In which way?
Well, some gold flutes made by certain makers that I can't
Mention.
divulge because it's top secret.
That's right.
Okay.
And we like all flute makers.
Yeah, sure. And I think this Johnson and Mathey gold was the best, and that's what when I commissioned Mr. Cooper to make a flute for me to play in the Berlin Phil, which was 69, 70.
Okay.
That's when
Right.
Fenwick came. It was to make a flute at A445.
Mm.
And by the way, the flutes that Fenwick made are also at A445
Mm.
because he was playing in Berlin.
Mhm.
And actually, the orchestra went up and down. Sometimes it was very sharp, sometimes it was very low. But A445 was in the middle of where they were playing.
Oh. In the middle.
Yeah, well, sure, sometimes maybe A447, I don't know,
Wow.
A443.
Wow.
I gotta tell you the story of the flying head joint.
Oh,
Oh.
the flying head joint, yeah.
We were on tour in Germany, and the program had that Quantz G major.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether you're familiar with the music, but the
A bit.
last page has something like 10 bars rest, and then the first subject comes again. So I thought, oh, it's a bit sharp, so I decided to pull a headpiece out. And when I did, the barrel came off on the headpiece.
Oh no.
This was his new 24 karat Muramatsu flute, and I think it was one of the first ones they made.
Ah.
Anyhow, Jeannie was in the wings and she saw what was happening on the
It
TV.
was very strange.
So she came out with another flute. Of course, the audience thought this was some sort of
I just walked
publicity
out with
gag.
a flute and took the other one and left.
A planned
So-
shtick.
I got this flute to a good flute maker in Lucerne, who's Muramatsu trained, and he soldered it back on again. So here we were in Stuttgart in the Liederhalle, beautiful concert hall, and came this bit again with a and I thought, okay, I want to really get this. And I went, but when I went, the head joint sprang off onto
No.
the floor, and I just managed to stop it falling right into the audience.
Oh.
And recently I had a bite to eat with Karl-Heinz Schütz, the principal solo flutist of the Vienna Philharmonic, and after a concert, and I was talking to him, and he says, you probably don't remember meeting me at this concert. He says, it was the one when the head joint went flying onto the stage, but your husband grabbed it before it went off on the thing. I said, you were there? And that reminded us of the story of the flying head joint. So the flute went back to Muramatsu, and
They gave me another
he
one.
said, I don't want to know about this flute. And he
Jinx.
got another one. But apparently, and Heather, you probably know, the soldering it was very difficult, they said, because the soldering of the 24 karat, I
Mhm.
think at that time, because there is where you're dealing with soft metals. And
Yes.
24 carats are nice flutes. They are heavy, but they're nice, really beautiful sound. But I do want to say that we do have silver flutes, and both of us started on very inexpensive instruments, and just have worked our way over the years. And as my husband has always said, when his friends in the orchestras would buy a car, he would buy a flute. But that's why he has the flutes. And I have a wonderful Haynes flute that you had Cooper change for me and engrave my initials when we were
Yeah.
dating, remember?
It's probably one of the best hands in the world.
And Haynes was his first flute, but your first flute was a
E.J. Albert. Oh, first flute was a Selmer,
Ah, yes.
gold seal. And it had this huge G sharp key, which I think probably belonged to a clarinet.
Or someone with a short
they
pinky.
yeah, I think they use that because they're so big.
Mhm.
Anyhow, then my dad somehow or other procured a really good flute made by E.J. Albert in Brussels.
Mhm.
And I played that until halfway through my first or second year in college, the Royal
Oh.
College, when I got enough money to buy a Haynes. And I bought a Haynes closed hole, offset G, low C,
Mhm.
and that was it. I
Hmm.
played that one until I'm trying to remember. Oh, I played it until I was 1 year in the opera.
So when you were in Paris, studying in Paris, that was a flute you used.
Yeah.
So you had a closed hole Haynes flute.
Yeah.
And what did the other students in Paris at the time have?
Oh, Quainon and sort of rubbish.